The 16th of August, 1951, a small town in the south of France, nestled among lavender fields. Pont-Saint-Esprit. 4,000 people live here. Everyone knows everyone. Everyone trusts everyone. But that night, when the clock struck midnight, people started jumping from windows. They thought they could fly. Some were fighting invisible creatures. Some were running from their own families. One man stopped in the middle of the street and roared. He thought he was a lion. 24 hours earlier, everything was normal. Now, the town had become a living hell. And the most terrifying part? No one knew why. Before we begin this story, we must ask, what was this town? Pont-Saint-Esprit. The name means Bridge of the Holy Spirit, famous for a stone bridge built in the 13th century, in the heart of Provence. Lavender fields, vineyards, that famous French countryside beauty. But in 1951, France was still healing its wounds. World War II had ended 6 years earlier, but the scars were everywhere. The economy had collapsed. Food was scarce. People were barely getting by. Life in Pont-Saint-Esprit was simple. Mornings began with the sound of roosters. Women bought fresh vegetables at the market. Men worked the fields, then drank wine in the town square at sunset. And every morning, everyone went to the same bakery, Rochebriand's bakery. Rochebriand, the town's baker. Third generation. His father was a baker, and his grandfather too. He woke up at 4 a.m. every morning. He kneaded the dough with his own hands. He was one of the most trusted men in town. The smell of that bread, fresh, warm, like coming home. Everyone in town had grown up with that smell. The morning of the 16th of August, 1951 began the same way. The sun rose. The bakery opened. People bought their bread. No one knew. That bread was their last normal day. Because when night fell, everything would change. That evening, everything seemed normal. Families sat down to dinner. Children did their homework. The elderly drank coffee by the window. But as midnight approached, the first complaints began. Nausea, dizziness, a strange unease. People thought, something I ate must have disagreed with me. It was a hot summer night. It seemed normal. But toward dawn, Dr. Albert Gabai's door began to be knocked on incessantly. 5 patients, then 10, then 20. Dr. Gabai was baffled. They all had the same symptoms: fever, vomiting, excessive sweating, and insomnia. Probably food poisoning, he said. Rest, drink plenty of water. It will pass. But it didn't pass. And within 24 hours, the town would see hell. The next afternoon, the symptoms changed. People weren't just sick anymore. They were going insane. Gabriel R., a 32-year-old farmer, he started screaming at his wife. Get back! Get back! They want to eat you! His wife was standing alone. There was no one else in the room, but Gabriel could see them. The shadows on the walls, dark figures moving, hands reaching for him. Hallucinations. They were seeing things that weren't real. And for them, they were completely real. One year old Charles. He turned to his mother and said, "Mother, my heart has turned into snakes. They're coiling inside me. I need to get them out." When his mother screamed, Charles had already begun searching for a knife. And Charles wasn't alone. Léon Armunier, a respected 4-5-year-old businessman. That night, he thought he was a lion. He ran through the streets on all fours. He roared. He attacked dogs. It took 3 people to restrain him. And the most terrifying part, people thought they could fly. One woman jumped from the 2nd floor. "I have wings," she screamed. She survived, but her legs were broken. The hospital was overflowing, and the doctors were helpless, because this wasn't in any medical textbook. The morning of the 2nd day, the town was paralyzed. Shops didn't open. No one went to the fields. People locked themselves in their homes, but they weren't safe inside either, because no one knew. What was the enemy? The water, the air, the food? Or someone. Rumors began to spread. This is a curse, said some. The devil's work, said others. The church bells rang non-stop that day. The priest held service after service, but the prayers didn't work, and the news spread. First regional papers, then national press, then the whole world. The cursed town, collective madness, mystery illness strikes France. Pont-Saint-Esprit was now famous, but this wasn't the fame they wanted. Patients began to be transferred to larger cities. Some would never return, because what awaited them was the asylum. And now, everyone had just one question on their minds. What started this nightmare? Now, I'm going to tell you the numbers, and these numbers will turn your stomach. Over 300 people fell ill. In a small town, 300 people out of a population of 4,000. Over 50 people were committed to psychiatric hospitals. Some stayed there for weeks, some for months, a few for years. And 7 people died. 7 families buried their loved ones, and they still didn't know. Why? Were these deaths an accident, murder, or something darker? The investigation began immediately. Police, doctors, scientists, they were all asking the same question. What's the common link? The patients were compared. Some were old, some were young, some rich, some poor. They lived in different neighborhoods. They had different jobs. But there was one common link. Just one. They had all bought bread from the same place. Rochebriand's bakery, the town's beloved baker. Overnight, he became the town's #1 suspect. Bread samples were taken, analyzed, examined, and the result: ergot, claviceps purpurea, a fungus that infects rye, purple-black in color, crooked in shape, like a small horn attached to the grain. This fungus had caused outbreaks called St. Anthony's Fire in the Middle Ages. Ergotism. The symptoms? Hallucinations, convulsions, a burning sensation, and sometimes death. And an interesting detail: ergot is the natural precursor to LSD. Yes, that famous hallucinogenic substance. So the people of Pont-Saint-Esprit had unknowingly ingested an LSD-like substance. Rochebriand was interrogated. I didn't do anything, he said. I always get my flour from the same place, the same supplier for 30 years. But when samples were taken, traces of ergot were found in the flour. An official statement was made. The Pont-Saint-Esprit tragedy was food poisoning caused by flour contaminated with ergot fungus. The case was closed. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. But was it really closed? 58 years later, an American journalist put forward a completely different story. H.P. Albarelli, an investigative journalist who had spent years researching CIA documents. In 2009, he published a book, A Terrible Mistake, and his claim was shocking. Albarelli said, Pont-Saint-Esprit was not an accident. It was a secret CIA experiment. The 1950s, the most tense years of the Cold War. An invisible war was being waged between America and the Soviets. Guns weren't firing, but in laboratories, another weapon was being developed, MK Ultra. One of the CIA's most secret, most sinister programs. The goal? Mind control. The CIA was searching for substances that could control enemies, force confessions, even break their will. And the biggest candidate? LSD. This is where the Sandoz company comes in. The first company to produce LSD, and a company that collaborated with the CIA. Albarelli's most striking piece of evidence? Frank Olson, a biochemist who worked for the CIA, part of MK Ultra. In 1953, he fell from a hotel window. Official explanation: suicide. But his family claimed for years it was murder, and Albarelli found references to Pont-Saint-Esprit in Olson's notes. Even more interesting? In declassified CIA documents, there were references to experiments in French villages. Albarelli's claim was this: the CIA, in agreement with the French government, used this town as guinea pigs. The ergot in the bread was actually synthetic LSD, and the entire town had become a test subject. Now there are two versions. The first, an unfortunate accident, contaminated flour, tragic but natural. The second, a planned experiment, a covert operation, a government's attack on its own people. Which one is true? The French government still maintains the Ergot theory today. The CIA denied the allegations. But they didn't provide a full explanation either. And perhaps the answer will never be found. For the authorities, the case closed in 1951. The culprit, Ergot fungus. The verdict, an unfortunate accident. But for Rochebriand, the verdict was never closed. He closed his bakery. No one wanted to buy bread from him anymore. The town's beloved baker had become the town's cursed man. He spent his final years in loneliness and shame. The truth was this: if the allegations were true, Rochebriand was completely innocent, but no one cleared his name. And if the CIA theory is correct, the real perpetrators were never brought to justice. 70 years have passed, but in Pont-Saint-Esprit, the wounds are still open. When you talk to the surviving witnesses, they still tell their stories while trembling. "I can't forget that night," said one survivor. "My mother walked to the window. 'I'm going to fly,' she said. My father and I could barely hold her back. That moment, I was 6 years old, and it haunts my dreams every night." Some stayed in psychiatric hospitals for months. Some said they recovered, but they took medication for years. The psychological trauma never healed. And there's a strange silence in the town. Some families still don't talk about those days, as if there's a shame, a secret, a cover-up. Some doors never open. After Pont-Saint-Esprit, some things changed. Food safety laws in Europe were tightened. Flour, production, storage, inspection. Every stage was brought under control. And in 1975, MK-Ultra was exposed. It was revealed that the CIA had conducted LSD experiments on unwitting civilians. American citizens, prisoners, psychiatric patients had been used as guinea pigs. The government apologized. Laws changed. Oversight increased. But the question still hangs in the air. Was Pont-Saint-Esprit part of these experiments? The answer is still unclear. Maybe one day all the documents will be released. Maybe one day the truth will come out. But that day is not today. If you visit Pont-Saint-Esprit today, you'll see a beautiful town. Narrow streets, stone houses, church bells, and of course, bakeries. But this town has a secret, a story where everything changed in one night, and a mystery that was never fully solved. Pont-Saint-Esprit reminds us of something. Sometimes the most terrifying things are hidden in the places we trust most. And sometimes the truth is too small to see with the naked eye, or too dark to see. Pont-Saint-Esprit, 1,951, 7 dead, 300 plus sick, 0 convictions.